Hi. So this marks my very first LEP club. I am a new member, but this is the first time that I'm actually here. So it's a little bit odd to be presenting on my first time here. But I found out about you all last summer and did a moth night at Cromwell Valley with like the biggest sheet I've ever seen. And then up at Petrie, and it was just wonderful. And I said, I've got to get together with this group more often. I am a science teacher. I teach middle school science down in DC. I live in Tacoma Park, Maryland. But my folks are up here. I grew up in Moncton. So I'm staying over with them tonight, which is nice. And I'm driving back down to school tomorrow. I am not an entomologist. And while I have a lifelong love of bugs of all kinds, really focused in on learning about insects really only in the past 5 years or so. And so I'm very much in the learning phase and really excited to find a group of people who are also interested in learning and sharing together. So what has taken over my life apparently in the past 5 years is iNaturalist. And so I thought, when we had the moth night last summer, I was talking about, oh, you could do this and you can do this and you can do this. And Rebecca said, oh, would you want to maybe come and talk to us about that? So I'll share a little bit about that and hopefully not get too far in the weeds. So we'll go ahead. So what I'll do is I'll start off, give you a little bit of background for me, a short intro to iNaturalist, the difference between the iNat on your phone and the one on your computer. They are connected, but their functionality is miles apart. And I do everything 99% through my computer. And what I do through the computer is learn, analyze, explore, and contribute. And so I'll try to use those four different actions as a way to organize all the different things. It might be too much information, and for that I apologize. So even though I've got questions at the end there, please feel free to ask questions at any point. Just be like, wait a minute, you just said this, but you clicked on that. Where did you go? And I'll stop and go back to explain. So, all right. So I like to say that my first pet was a can of worms, quite literally. I take my wagon and a Maxwell House coffee can and walk around and collect all the worms in it as a small child. I wrote my first book at age 7, my insects book. And so, you know, I had some spelling issues with ladybugs. I obviously did not understand exactly what a dragonfly was in that picture. So I had ant and I had butterfly, but what gets me when I found this a few years ago was this page.
People.
People. So here I am making a book about insects, and I turn the page, I write people. I draw a picture of myself, and I don't remember this, right? But I wonder at what point my 7-year-old self said, wait a minute, I'm not a bug, and crossed it out, right? But that's, if anything, that's an indication of the deep kinship that I feel with insects. I even, so I got my start in education at Oregon Ridge Nature Center. I worked there in high school as a Ridge Runner volunteer, and then I worked there in the summers developing programs. One of the programs that I developed was about edible insects, and that ended up getting on the AP wire all around the world. I was on news shows in Austria and other places. And then MTV picked it up. And in 1995, I was in a short segment on MTV about how to cook and eat insects. So for a brief period of time, I'd walk down the street and people would stop me and say, "Are you the bug lady?"
That's funny.
Cool. You watch too much TV. But but that is where my username on iNaturalist came from. Bugs. Is from that. So I went to college, I got married, I had some little kids, lived in Costa Rica for a while, came back. Wow. Then the pandemic hit and everything stopped. And with me and my two kids all on our computers all day doing online learning, not a lot of fun. We did lots of walks in our neighborhood. And that's where I discovered iNaturalist, because we found this plant that I didn't know, and somebody said, oh, there's an app on your phone that you can take a picture and it'll tell you what it is. And that's what I used it for the first year. So this is my year in review for 2020. I made a total of 92 observations. But I found that if I went on there, I could actually see what other people were seeing, and I could help them out with identifications and say, oh yeah, that's a this, or this is a that. And so I did about 1,000 identifications that year. The next spring, during the City Nature Challenge, I noticed all of a sudden on iNaturalist, a whole lot of people in April started posting a whole lot of observations. And somebody included a link to a webinar saying, if you want to help out with identifications, don't use your phone, use the website. And that is no turning back. After I discovered how to use the website, it kind of took over and continues to take over my life. This is my year last year. I uploaded 8,000 observations, 2,700 species, and did a stupid, ridiculous amount of identifications for other people. If you take that number and divide it by 365, that's over 600 identifications a day on average. Wow. So I spend really too much time on iNaturalist. But as I remind my family, of all the addictions to have, this is a pretty good one. Because not only do I get to look at pictures of bugs every day, but I get to help people out. I get to contribute to science by helping people understand what is actually living where and when, which is really, really helpful for any policymaking or conservation movement. So awesome. That's a little bit about me. Another thing that happened during this time was I got my first camera. And so now I really, really enjoy going out with my macro lens and taking photographs. So all the bug pictures are my photos in this, just from the past year. So the next few slides I think I have are from iNaturalist, because I wanted to just do a quick intro in case people weren't totally familiar with exactly what it was and how it works. So we'll talk about iNaturalist in general. And then I'll start to introduce the website. So iNaturalist is firstmost, their goal was to design an app that you could use on your phone that would make it easy for people to connect with nature. So collecting the information, encouraging people to get outside and explore, that's one of their first. You don't care about something until you interact with it, and they want to get people out interacting with nature. The second thing is then what happens to that data. It doesn't stay on your phone. It becomes part of a global database for biodiversity and conservation. So those are the two parts here. So you take a photo or record a sound. Both of those would work. Some people like to take their picture right through the app. There's fewer steps. I take my pictures with my macro lens, and then I upload them through my computer in batches. And so that's my flow. But whatever it is, you start with a photo. And then there is a limited AI, which iNaturalist calls computer vision, which takes your location and image recognition, and it suggests what it thinks it might be. It's gotten better, and for some things, it's very good. There's lots of species of butterflies and moths, and they are not all in iNaturalist. So it might not have what you are actually looking at, but its job is to recommend something. So it will recommend something. So you always have to take it with a grain of salt. I always say just, you can see what it recommends, but you can also ID it to the level that you feel most comfortable. If you're like, I know this is a swallowtail, but I'm not sure which one, you can just put swallowtail. Or if you're like, it's stripy, I don't know if it's a bee or a wasp or one of those flies that looks like them, you can just put insect on it, and that's fine. So adding your own or using the image recognition. With insects especially, it's tricky if it's far away, it gets really inaccurate. So always you want to crop your photo to get as close up as possible. Or if the background is really busy, it has a hard time finding what you think you're taking a picture of. So yeah.
Hey, Adrian, does iNaturalist, you said it's a database, so does it put a pin on your locations?
Yes.
Well, there's a little issue with that, because if it's something very rare or very sensitive,
I will tell you what to do with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. That's
So it will automatically drop a pin because your phone geotags all your photos.
Right.
But when you post it, you've got three options. You can keep it public.
Right.
You can obscure it, which says it's somewhere in this USGS quad.
Okay, perfect.
Or you can make it totally private, which means it's no help to scientists anywhere. So
that's
you
really
so
good.
you
That's
wanna,
that's important.
So when I take pictures at home, I obscure it because I don't want everybody in the entire world to know where I live. But Maryland Biodiversity Project, for example, contacted me and said, do you trust us with your hidden coordinates? Nope. And I clicked a button saying, yes, I trust you with my hidden coordinates.
Excellent.
So they can see. Some things are automatically obscured. You see a box turtle, it will automatically obscure it.
Oh, really?
Okay. So if it is, I forget at what level of threatened or endangered, it will automatically do it. But you can obscure anything if you're concerned about people flocking to that place and collecting or digging up or whatever. So unlike other apps that just give you that AI, that computer vision suggestion, iNaturalist has a third step, which is actual live people who will review your observation and either confirm it or correct it. Sometimes it takes months, sometimes it takes years, sometimes it just languishes there forever without being identified because maybe people don't know how to do it, or there's not somebody with that expertise, or it's something that you can't actually identify to species from a photograph. But this is what I spend most of my time doing is I review insect observations and I add confirming IDs, or I correct IDs, or I refine the ID. And at that point, once they have at least two people who have said, this is the species that we think this is, then it becomes quote unquote research grade, which means then it is data that's available for scientists to use, saying that we're fairly certain it's here.
What sources do you use to narrow it down and identify it?
Right, so there's, I'll go through some of the sources that I use besides all my paper resources. A lot of people, especially fly people, work through keys every time. I use a lot of Bug Guide, Maryland Moth Group, Photographers Group, and other ones. And then there's resources of all the people who are also doing what I'm doing, and that we talk to each other and help each other out. I say, ooh, I don't know what this is, but I bet Paul Denicky knows how to identify this one.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Is it possible that some of this shows up and it's incorrect? And then somebody's like, oh, I've noticed that a whole bunch of these are incorrect, and they will go back in and correct them, right? So it's not perfect. I would imagine if somebody is doing a project on a specific butterfly, they would go in and vet, they would go in and double check the data and make sure that, you know, it wasn't a bunch of high school students who were all just clicking yes on each other's observations with no actual resemblance to reality. So there are a lot of checks and balances in here. And so even if something reaches research grade, you can go in and be like, no, it's actually, let's pull that back. So you can go in and do that. All right. So on your phone, when you're outside and you're taking pictures, a lot of people like that instant gratification of what does it say that it is. I don't do any of that. I just take pictures with my camera, and then when I get home, I look at it. One of the reasons is that through the website, you get a lot more information, and it helps me to do a better job making sure that I'm identifying things correctly. So this example, does anybody know what wonderful little moth this is? I know I didn't take a good one for ID here. Right. This one, last summer near Tacoma Park, where I live, one of the nearest open spaces is a power line meadow. So a watershed group set up a moth night and a sheet out there, and we got a mournful sphinx.
Looks like a sphinx moth.
Yeah, mournful sphinx, Enyo. And it was quite lovely, and I got it on my finger, and everybody took pictures. Somebody used their iNat on their phone, and it said, we think it's a mournful sphinx. And we were like, great, that's good. But here's the difference, is if you just took it on your phone, you'd be like, okay, we've identified it. But for me, what I did was I went ahead and at home posted it. And this is what this is what it looks like on the website. So there's my photo. I also took a much more identifiable photo, so we could verify that, yes, this is a mournful sphinx. You can see that it's been geotagged with my time, the date, and the location. But when I got here, in the map part here, it will show you all the dots of where other people have seen this same species. And I was like, I don't see any other dots. And so I zoomed out and I zoomed out. Oh, there was one. I zoomed out and I zoomed out. There are not a lot in Maryland. And so we found out, I put my ID on it, and it turned out that Maryland Biodiversity Project didn't even have a species page for it. This was the first for them. That was the first confirmed sighting of a mournful sphinx in Maryland. Right now, there had been one prior, but they hadn't gotten into their catalog. So I never would have known this if all I did was take a picture through my phone. Right. Through here, you can get to see some of the other pieces of it, and then have conversations with people and make sure now it's added to the Maryland Biodiversity Project. So that was a really fun find. So let me show you a little bit about what your dashboard looks like on the computer. Yeah, we'll go through that one. All right, so when you log in, you use the same username and password that you set up on your phone. And when you log into iNaturalist, this is your landing page, which they call your dashboard. So there's a bunch of different menus. Right now, we're just going to focus on the blue menu that runs across the top here. This is your dashboard. The first thing that you'll see are your notifications of people who have commented on or identified any of your observations, as well as any, for me, I get a lot of notifications when people refine identifications for IDs that I've worked on. So up here, it says I've got 20 notifications, and I can scroll through them and see, okay, this person, here's somebody who I found this little octagonal casemaker moth that I just put the genus on, but now 2 other people have added the ID for a species. So now it's research grade, right? So here's one, somebody had a picture. I'll look at this observation here. Somebody had posted this picture, which to me, I was like, looked like this was gonna be of that forest tent caterpillar. But then they wanna know, what was the tiny blue insect? So this is the part when iNaturalist got invented, Their idea was that it was going to be some kind of a social media type thing where people would be interacting. You can be on iNat and not interact with anyone ever, but if you want to, you could reply to this person and say, oh, okay, why don't you duplicate this and post it for the beetle, and then we'll try to get that ID. So these are all just, this is how I start my day. I wake up in the morning and I go through, right? I can tell you it's better than Facebook. It's better than the news. It's cool bugs that people are looking at. Okay. So I can scroll through and see. It's also, if I've made a mistake, it'll send me a notification if someone has disagreed with me. And so that's always really important. Whenever somebody disagrees with me, I open it up, and sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I hadn't had my coffee yet. So sorry. And I'll withdraw my incorrect ID, or I can respond and say, no, this is the feature I'm looking at that makes me think it's this species. Mm-hmm. So that's notifications. So across this blue menu here, the next thing is a profile. I recommend that everybody sets up, if you use it on the website, I recommend that you write a profile for yourself. It doesn't have to be anything more than what you want it to be. You don't have to use your real name. You don't have to use your whole name. It's helpful to let people know, are you an enthusiast or are you an expert? You know, if you're a PhD in geometrid moths, let people know that, so that when you're identifying things, they can be like, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. I clearly say that I'm an insect enthusiast, and not an expert. So that's something that you can set up in here so that other people, all they have to do is click on your little profile picture, and then they can see what your profile is. So it's helpful just to let them know even what part of the world you're from, because iNat is all around the world. So just be like, nature lover based in Maryland. That's all you need to say if you want. You can also, going over in the blue menu, take a look at all of your observations. So these, I've got 27,000 observations on iNat. You can see on a map where they are. You can look at it in grid form. This little one here, I was in the woods getting leaves for my caterpillars, and I felt a little thing on the back of my neck when I got back to my classroom, and it was this tiniest little jumping spider. It was a new species for me. I'd never seen it before. So that was exciting. So you can take a look at your observations. We'll look at in a minute how you can filter through your observations and actually find things. A lot of people that I know who are really into photography, storage of all the photographs becomes an issue. And then being able to find what photo you took when is an issue. iNaturalist solves that issue, because you can filter it for anything and find any photo that you've taken in the past, however many years. So I'll show you that in a moment. All right, it's going through again. So we did home, profile, observations. The next one that I love is the calendar function. It will show you all the days that you made observations on iNaturalist. You can see here where my spring break was in March by those darker dots. This year I've not gotten out as much as last year. Last year I was out a whole lot. So the darkness of the dot is how many observations you made. But here's what's cool about it. You can be like, where was I on April 5th? Let's take a look of last year. You can click on that, and then it will bring up for you a summary of your observations for that day. So I made 164 observations, 118 different taxa. Wow. They're all listed right here, so you can see what things I saw. But one of the coolest things, though, you can look at it on the map. So you can see this was a day that I was out with Maryland Biodiversity Project, sampling this little bend of the Potomac River that's in the Leesburg quad. So we're trying to gain data from that little sliver there. What I mostly use the calendar function though, whoops, I left that. The calendar function for is that it will also tell you all the new things that you saw that day that you have never seen before. So these are all the things that day that I found that I had never seen before, including one that again was a new species for Maryland.
So doesn't matter what color it is because you got blue, red, and green on here.
Yeah, so the reds are all insects. Blues are other, green are plants.
Okay.
There's some color coding, but it changes slightly depending on where you are. This looks like a really impressive list, but if you take a look at this one right here, Grammaris fasciatus is a type of amphipod I found in under a rock. So it lists this as being the first time I'd ever seen it, but it also says this is the first time I saw the genus, and the first time I saw the family, and the superfamily, and the parvorter. So there are 5 different things for one organism because those were all my firsts. So the list sometimes looks really big, but it's not quite as big as that actually is. But that was an easy way, for example, when I found that little spider on my neck and took a picture and uploaded it, I just went to my calendar and clicked, and sure enough, it showed up as you've never seen this before. So it's nice because sometimes you get confused. Have I seen this? Was that just in a book? Yeah.
Do you know how recently they made the calendar feature?
I've been using it for 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, only available on the web page. Yeah, only available on the web page, not on your
Yeah.
phone.
I think maybe I haven't explored it as much, but I started in like 2020.
Yeah, yeah.
That's probably-
Check it out. It's really fun. It's a real neat way to do a day recap and be like, what did I see? What was new today?
So is this
Yeah.
an AI capability? What?
No, it's just mining your data. Because here's all the observations for that day. Every observation is tagged with all that information, and it knows what I've seen because it keeps track of all of my 27,000 observations.
So this is really helpful. Can you pick out, like, let's say you're into tiger beetles,
Yeah.
and can you show every tiger beetle in your 27,000?
Yes.
You can?
Yes.
Can it?
So-
Okay. Can it do repeat photographs? And the
Right.
reason I'm asking is I've been photographing certain things since
Tiger
1970, and I can't coordinate it. I don't know how to do it.
Tiger beetles. I've had 52 tiger beetle observations.
Wow.
These are all of them. Right.
So suppose you.
Wait, hang on.
Okay.
So there they are.
Yes.
It's 6 species,
Yes.
but I can also click on species, and then it summarizes it for me.
That's really
The 30 of
amazing.
them are the 6-spotted, 12 are the bronzed, 5 the punctated, right? And then if I'm like, where was I when I saw this one?
Right.
I can click on it, and it wasn't in Maryland. I can click on it, and then it can give me all the information for where I was when I saw that,
That's impressive.
right? So you don't have to like remember,
Right.
oh, right, I was in Costa Rica for this one. You can just click on it and it tells you where you were.
So the problem I'm having is I'll photograph something in 1970, and then I'll photograph the same animal in 1990. So,
Yeah.
So can it tell me that it is the same animal?
So what, yeah, it would, the very same individual,
Yes.
you would have to put that in yourself. So for example, people will sometimes discover a caterpillar that's about to pupate and it's out in the wild. So they'll take a picture as a caterpillar, and then the next day they come back and it's a pupa. So that's a separate observation because its life stage will get tagged separately. So
Okay.
you can also search by life stage.
Okay.
So you can take a picture of it the next day, but then you just cut and paste the link and say, here's the link for where it was yesterday. So you can have them connected. There are people who document life stage development, And there's another way to do it, but I don't remember.
So are you talking about like a herp you may
Yeah,
have seen
yeah.
in 1970?
Oh, just the
and then a
same-
herp that you saw in 1990, thinking it could be the same one?
Yes,
Because they have a long lifespan?
yes,
Yeah,
that's,
so you can connect them and there are ways to do that, but I'm
there
not
are
sure.
ways to do it.
Mhm.
I've been looking for that for so long.
Yeah, yeah. And you can take a photo from 1970 and, you know, you can scan it or take a photo of a photo and then put it up. You would have to put in the location and
Yeah, that's
you know,
fine.
estimate the date and the
Yeah, yeah.
location. But and then you put it in there.
Wow.
Yeah. So there are people who are going back through
Right.
through catalogs because they are like, I need to organize all this information, and this helps to organize it.
That
Yeah.
is so valuable.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love the way that it crunches the data and that it organizes things for you.
Wow.
A couple of the other things that one other thing in this that I'll point out is you can click favorite on any observation on iNaturalist if you want to save it to your favorites. So for example, I would ask you all this because I didn't know the answer. I favorited this observation because on this little black dotted brown, most of them don't have those little feathery things sticking out of their heads. What are those? I don't know what they are. What are those little tufts? They don't usually have them. Does anybody know? They're not like pencil hairs because those are on the abdomen.
Don't know.
Yeah, usually.
What do you do you have any idea?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I was like, so I favorited it because I'm waiting to find somebody who's gonna tell me what it is, but I don't know what it is.
That's crazy.
So it's just a way you can keep things. This is one I favorited just because this species of moth isn't in iNaturalist as a recommendation yet, and so people keep identifying it as a green marvel, which it's not. And I always forget what it actually should be because it doesn't come up as a suggestion yet. So these are found down south in Florida, especially. There was one last summer that people kept seeing. People kept seeing these little things. They're like the size of a milkweed seed. And so I favorited all of them because I had no idea what they were until eventually Charlie Eisman came along and said, that's a shield-bearing moth's cocoon. So you can see this was somebody's observation, and they put state of matter life because they had no idea what it was. I said I thought it was an arthropod. Said I've seen them, I don't know what they are. Right. And then so that was a year ago, and then 6 months ago, Charlie came along and said, this is what they are.
That's really neat.
But I had it in my favorites because I wanted to make sure that when somebody figured it out, I could go back and know what they were. All right. So that's just a nice way to kind of keep track of some observations that for whatever reason you find interesting. So these are ones that I think I might need to refer back to. All right. So that is your landing page. Are we already getting a sense of how much more you can do with the website than on your phone? There's a lot. So let's go back here for a moment. Okay. So the parts that I've kind of broken this down into is ways that I use the website. I use it to learn, to analyze, like we were just looking at how many tiger beetles have I seen, what species, where, to explore, where can I find the species I want to find, or I'm going on vacation, what's there this time of year? You can do those things, and then contributing where you're actually you're improving the data that's on iNaturalist by annotating or by adding your own identifications. So I'll start with just the learning part, because you were asking me, how do I know what I'm doing? Which is a great question to ask. Sometimes I don't, but I really try. I would recommend to everybody to spend some time every day looking at other people's observations, right? It beats the news. It's really beautiful. You get to see awesome things. A couple years ago, there was a time where in Maryland, all of a sudden people started seeing Hawaiian spotted beetworm moths, Hawaiian beetworm moths, which I had never seen before, but they were kind of characteristic and cute. And then like 3 days later, I show up at work and there's one right next to the door as I'm walking in. And I knew what it was because they were out and I was noticing them, right?
Show us what it is.
I can. I can. All right, Hawaiian. Oh, that's not how you spell Hawaiian. Hawaii. How do I spell Hawaiian? And beet webworm moth. All right, we'll go to its species page. So it's this one.
Wow, that's cool.
Right.
Why is it Hawaiian?
I don't know, but they are native. Yep.
Who named it?
I have so many questions. Let's see. Na, 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 na. Ah. It's found worldwide, mainly in the tropics. Maybe it was named in Hawaii. But yeah, so that one, I didn't know that at all. But then I show up at work and there one is, just because I had been every day looking at what other people were seeing and they were seeing them, and then I saw one. Most of my learning happens using the species page. So I will show you that on iNaturalist on the website, how you use that. I have taught myself most of the moths that I know, butterflies and moths, through using the species page.
Wow.
So it's really powerful, and I'll show that. Also, don't be afraid to ask people on iNaturalist that if you don't know something, we were talking, where's Bob? Bob, is that right? We were talking about when you just put the genus name.
Yeah.
If you put the genus and someone else identifies it, you can write and say, how did you know it was this species? And if they're available and if they're, so inclined, they'll write back and give you that information. I do that all the time. These are some of the people who I've learned from on iNaturalist. It's amazing. It's amazing the wealth of knowledge that is out there. And there's some of these people who just do, like my go-to for butterflies and moths are Dee Cluza and Paul Dennehy. Kate the Great, she knows her caterpillars. Same with Gotta Feed My Cats. Highway to Hellgrammite. They know their Dobson flies and their fish flies, because Hellgrammite is the name of a young Dobson fly. Catherine G is flies. Pedro 311 is wasps. NCB 1221, he has leaf-footed bugs. And Bob 296, all he does is scoliid wasps. And so I learned them from him. And I would be like, I think this is a this, and I would tag him. I'd say, Bob 296, can you check this for me? Like when I'm just starting to make sure that I was on the right track.
So you can actually reach out to one of these people or
all the time.
Wow, that's really
all you
cool.
do is you type the @ sign,
Okay.
and then their username. That's it.
Awesome.
So I'll do Solomon Hendricks, Nomalos X, he's leafhoppers. So I'll tag him
This
at
is crazy.
him, and then I'll say, here's a weird leafhopper I found. What do you think? Yeah.
And you've gotten their name from their response to something.
Yes, and I can
requested.
also show you how you know who to pick, because in iNaturalist, for every species, it tells you who are the identifiers of that species. So you know who, even if you've never talked to them before, you can ask them. Now, again, there's several people on here who I've tagged and they don't respond because they get too many notifications. I don't take it personally. I imagine they have other things they're doing than responding to my questions. So, all right, let's take a look at what this looks like for learning. And since I showed the picture of that Pyrausta moth, let's do, well, how do I want to do this? Let's go to explore. All right, I'm using now up at the top here of this explore button. This explore button shows you all the observations in the entire world, if you would like it. How many observations do you think there are in the entire world? Let's do that. In Maryland right now, there's 3 million.
Wow.
Let's go
That's
to the
half
world.
Population.
Ooh, so we're at 300 million observations on iNaturalist. Let's see how many species of butterflies and moths have been observed in the world on iNaturalist. 74,000 species of butterflies and moths. How many do you think in Maryland?
Of which?
Of butterflies and moths, Lepidoptera.
Slightly less than 150 butterflies, if you count
Right.
skippers.
If I do butterflies and moths, how many do you think made it to iNaturalist?
Probably 10,000 and up.
Yeah, that's probably the right number as far as ones that have been observed on iNaturalist. So this is not how many exist. This is how many people have uploaded photos of, 2,550. Now, again, we have to keep in mind that these are pictures that people take. And so if we look at what species people are finding in Maryland, they're the big, bright, beautiful ones that catch people's eyes, right? They're the ones that sit on the flowers and allow you to take a picture of them, right? So there is an observation bias, 100%, right? Although I will say that with mothing gaining popularity, some moths are now coming in here with lots of observations because more people are going now at night to look at this. All right, so let's take a look at Pyrausta, the mint moths. This is a group that I decided I wanted to learn. So on iNaturalist, 14 species have been observed in Maryland. And I used the method that I'm going to show you right now to learn 8 or 9 of the 14 species. I'm not through them all yet. But I'll show you what I used to learn them. So let's look at the orange mint moth, just because that's the one that there's the most of. All right, so usually when you click on the name of an insect on iNaturalist, it will bring you to this page, which is its species page. So it'll have, I'm going to get rid of Maryland here. So it'll have a nice big photo. And here where it says view more, you can go in and you can see all the photos people have taken of this species. You can sort them by life stage. Oh, nobody's taken pictures of them with eggs. If you see an orange mint moth ovipositing, take a picture because they're not on iNaturalist yet.
Does anybody know what their list is? Do they like
Mint family Monarda, especially, is what their larvae look like. So you can see you can go look at the photos.
So how did you get to the caterpillar?
So I clicked view more to see more photos, and then I filtered by life stage.
Thank you.
Oh, well, that's.
Yeah, and for other ones, they have egg, larva, pupa, adult, but this one, I guess they don't have those. There's not even any pictures of the pupa. So more for people to find. Who can help you with orange mint moths? So here's the identifiers. If you click here, it'll let you know who has made a lot of observations of them. So you can see, like if you find a mint moth and you want somebody to help you with it, you could tag one of us, and say, hey, like, oh, I know Bugs is on a lot, or I know Eric Williams is up, or Teep Cooley is a high school kid who is doing homeschool and doing his own thing. He's written a book with Charlie Eisman about, not Charlie Eisman, I'm missing his name, about slug caterpillar moths in West Virginia. Right, good stuff, good people on here. So you can click on it and find out. You also might say, when should I go looking for an orange mint moth? And so iNaturalist creates a chart showing its seasonality, right? So you can actually look at it and say, if we want to go out right now, you probably aren't going to find one, but wait till July or August, and then you'll have a better chance. You can also say, where should I go looking for one? Right, and here's all the observations of orange mint moth. You can be like, okay, we're looking
Can you
at,
drill into that? Like, can you get
Yeah.
that map to come closer?
but we can say definitely only in North America, right? But yeah, you can keep zooming in. Now the cluster around DC doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lot there. Just means there's a lot of people with iNaturalist who are going out and looking for it there. So again, you have to be a little bit circumspect when it comes to information. So once you get in really close, then you can see the pins with dots in them are research grade. They've been confirmed. A pin with no dot has not yet been confirmed. And the kind of semi-transparent circle ones are ones that people have obscured. So it might not be in that exact location. But this is where you can say, if I want to find one, where might I go? And this can kind of help you. Sorry, I was zooming in on DC. I should have zoomed in on Baltimore. So you can see where you might look for them. So the map is really nice feature. It links to Wikipedia, but then over on the side, Bug Guide will take you directly to orange mint moth. It's a link directly to the species page there. Maryland Biodiversity Project, Maryland Moths, Moth Photographer Group. So you have all these resources that you can go to straight from here. What I use, so at this point, I will have opened up my moth book. I'll have looked at what it says the features are. I'll have clicked on Bug Guide and looked at that to see what the features are there. And then if I'm like, okay, I think I know the orange mint moth. I see that it has these orange shoulders and it's got that dash through the orange on the wings there. I'm pretty sure that I know what an orange mint moth is. Then you can quiz yourself. Over here with similar species, iNaturalist gathers all the moths that have been misidentified as orange mint moths. So you can quiz yourself and say, can I tell the difference between this moth and these other moths? Am I ready to start identifying? Do I know enough to do this? So there, we can see there have been 53. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me filter by place. I'm going to do this in the Eastern United States. So this will recalculate for Eastern United States. So the first one that had misidentifications was the mint moth, which if it comes up, there's a reason why it's not the mint moth. Let's try it.
Still loading.
Let's try it going back. Anybody know why it's not the mint moth? Mint moth is not found in the Eastern United States. It's a European and Eurasian one. So this is where people have used the app and just clicked the first thing without maybe they didn't have the location turned on their phone. And so they were getting recommendations from all around the world. So you can go in here and it will show you these 17 mistakes. And so here's one. You can click on it and say, okay, this was in Virginia. Oh, that's one that I did. So somebody said they thought it was a mint moth, and I came along and said, nope, not a mint moth. It's the orange mint moth, right? Here's another one here that's not at research grade yet. This one's in New Hampshire. Mint moth, no. Hanley came along and said orange mint moth. I agree. So I'll say agree. And now that there's three of us agreeing, it's gone to research grade. Right. So I will go through these and make sure that I can tell the difference if I think I've learned this moth. The mint loving Pyrausta. Let's see this one. Okay, let's quiz ourselves with this one. The one on the far right. What do you think? Is that one an orange mint moth? Does it have the orange shoulders and that little dash? I would say that looks good for orange mint moth, right? Orange shoulders, has the little dash here. through that orange.
What would be nice is if you could compare it, an actual picture to compare it side by side.
You can on a different kind of tab. Right? But that's what's amazing is like all the things that you're like, it'd be really nice to see them side by side. It does that. So right now we're just in the like learn phase of like, can I tell the difference? But when you go in as an identifier, then, and that's a different tab, then you get different things to help you as an identifier.
Wow.
So this is more like Adrian, this is what I do when I'm like, do I know this moth yet? Am I ready to start identifying this moth? And I can look at it and say, yeah, it looks like I agree. But how long has this been sitting here not fully identified? 7 years was the last identification. Let's bring that to completion here. All right, so now we have brought that to research brain. This is what I spend way too much time doing. So this is the learning, right? This is where if you want to learn, and like that's how I teach myself new species, is I go through this process. Sometimes I think I know what I'm doing, and I get to this last step and I can't figure it out. And then I say, okay, I'm not ready to identify these ones yet. I don't actually know what I'm doing enough here with these ones. All right. I don't want to go on too long. Should we just go to how much time should I have? I don't want to. So like if you were my students in my classroom, I'd be like, everybody stand up and stretch. We've been sitting for a while. Are you guys okay? Doing all right? Okay.
We're old.
Yeah.
You don't need to move that.
My 12-year-olds are like, you need to get up and start moving. Okay.
You're like, you want us to get up?
We're uncomfortable here. Okay. All right. Well, let me think what would make most sense to do. Okay.
Is it identified in male, female? I don't know about that.
Oh, that's
All
a
right.
good question.
Excellent. Based on your questions, let's go. I want to show you the identify tab, and then we can do one more thing after that. Okay. So for the things that you're talking about, if you want to go in and help identify, instead of using explore, which just shows you all the stuff, you would use this one right up here that says identify. Okay. Hitting this in the wrong place. So with identify, you can choose where you want to identify and what you want to identify. So mine is set up for Maryland. And then I usually, put in an order of insects that I feel like at the time to identify. And what it's doing is it's showing me all the observations that have not yet been confirmed or corrected. So if I click on this very first one here, Eastern tent caterpillar, there's a couple things I can do here. I can make it bigger so I can see it better.
Right.
In the identify, I can change my light. Lots of times with moths at night, they're real dark photos. So I have to brighten them to be able to see the features. So you can do that here. If I think it is, I can just go right here and click agree. But if I'm not sure, I can click suggestions. And this is where it's using the computer vision to suggest some possible species. And I only use this to check myself to make sure I've gotten all the possibilities. So it's showing me everything in this genus that looks like this. I can click on this and say, show me any Lepidoptera that you think looks like this. And this is the only one that comes up here. So this is where you get to see them side by side, right? You can even go through and look at, you can compare different images of eggs and the nest construction, the adult, depending on whatever the picture is here. So you can have that side by side comparison. And if there's more than one suggestion, then you can go through and kind of see each one side by side. Somebody asked about life stage. Over here, you have a button called annotations. And in the annotations, you can add the life stage. This is really important for any insect. Is really helpful to have the life stage. Also, if it is on a host plant, you can add the host plant association.
Wow.
As you guys know, there's a lot of Lepidoptera that we have no idea what they're eating, what the host plants are. So if you find a caterpillar on a plant, take a picture of it, put Lepidoptera and larva and what the plant is, and raise it until it emerges. And then we can go back and say, now we know what that one is. There's a lot that's unknown still. And so this data helps to put that in there. So in the identify tab, it makes these things really easy. If you are good at telling the difference between eastern tent caterpillar and forest tent caterpillar, people are seeing these all over the place right now. So I'll just go through these and go identify, and say eastern tent, forest tent, eastern tent, forest tent, and go through and do like 100, 200 of these in a day, because that's how many of them are coming in. If you know your Polyphemus caterpillar from a Lunamoth caterpillar, go in and help identify just those ones. If you know your viceroy from a monarch. So you don't have to be an expert in all the things. You can choose what you're going to identify, and you can ask it to just show you. I happen to have a love of the badwing moth. I don't know why. I just love it so. I love that they named it out of spite because it was hard to pin. That's what I love. So I will just go in and I'll just identify badwings because I love them. I guess that one. Is that a badwing? Is that not a badwing? I'm not going to identify that. Right? And that's where you can skip it if you're like, not sure if that's what the caterpillar looks like. That's a badwing, right? So you can go through and you can just look for what you want to identify. iNaturalist right now has so many more observers than identifiers that people get frustrated because they're like, I post stuff, but nobody identifies it. Nobody's getting paid to do any of this. It's just volunteer. So if there's a species that you like, if there's a family or a group that you feel like you could go in and do some identifications of, like any amount is helpful. So that's the identification tab.
That's great.
Right? And that's what I spend 90% of my time doing. Oh, let me show you why it matters. So we just were talking about Polyphemus moths. All right. So people are starting to see them now already further south from here. So if we click on its name, we get back to its species page. No, thank you. So here's what I want to show you. Seasonality. This chart is a big mess, but let's change it. Let's change it just to Maryland. Come on, Maryland. And let's change it to life stage. So it takes any observation that has been annotated with life stage and creates this map. So this is the chart for Maryland. So green is when people are finding the pupa. Red is when they're finding eggs. Orange is larva. Blue is adult, right? So you can see that if you annotate the observations, then people know when to go and find these things, right? Where do you go to look for them?
Wow, that's a big range.
Right? So it's the information is then useful to other people. So if you go in, you don't even have to know any butterfly or moth. You can just go in and add life stage. Is it a caterpillar? Does it have wings? Right? and that will help make the data better. Yeah,
So you can actually go into someone's observation and change the.
you can change the life stage.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, yeah.
And that's the thing is everything on iNaturalist is open. And so sometimes in the hundreds of thousands of interactions that I've had, less than 5 times have I had an unpleasant interaction with another user. Right? Less than 5 times out of like, I don't know, probably 800,000 interactions I've had. Sometimes people get a little prickly if you correct them. You know, some people don't love that, but you try to be kind about it. And instead of saying, I know what I'm talking about, you can just say, here's a link. You can compare images and just kind of leave it at that. But yeah, you can go in and, you know, sometimes people click the wrong thing and then somebody just writes, hey, bugs, you clicked larva and this is an adult. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, thanks for letting me know. And I'll go in and fix it, right? So it really is. I think there was an article at New York Times that called iNaturalist the nicest place on the internet. And it really is. People are quite forgiving and kind and helpful, which is lovely.
How did you learn all of this? Did you just do it by playing with it?
There is so much that I don't know. There are other people who know so much more than me. There's this whole thing where you can add to the URL up here and you can change things and filter things up there. I don't know half of it. A lot I've learned just by playing around, but I watched one first initial webinar that was like, let us introduce you to how you can identify. But the things I do, like quizzing myself with a similar species, were just things that I found that helped me.
So getting back to sort of a basic level, if we were to go into our backyards, take our phones, start clicking pictures, sending pictures to our computer, and then uploading it into iNaturalist, like, is there an example of what that looks like?
Sure. So you could do it just right through your phone. You could take the pictures right through the app, so it's just automatically in there. And then when you open up your computer, they're just there.
And so what do we do at that point? Like once we have uploaded the photograph, what happens next?
Right. You can add identifications, right? You can annotate. You can then, right. So it's more like you are collecting that. And then as you build the body, then you can start to analyze and look for things. This one is more about like using all of the possible resources to help yourself learn and find things.
If you have photos on your phone, let's say you took them in March, just pulling a month out. And you want to, can you upload a photo from your phone to iNaturalist?
Sure can.
Okay.
Yep. And that's often what I do because I like to crop and like pick the best one to upload. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. On the app where it says, how do you want to add? You could say, take a picture or use media on my phone or something like that. You just click that and you have to give it access to your camera roll.
Okay.
And then you can just scroll through till you find the one you want. And then it's already tagged with location and time and place.
So it'll be there, it'll already be there.
Yeah.
So
and then you get to put it up.
This must be huge for invasive species, for government agencies that look for invasive species coming to America or whatever. I mean, do you find a lot of organizations that do that on there? I mean,
yeah, there's in DC, there's a capital area invasives tracker where they create a project that anytime anyone observes one of those species gets put into their project.
Wow.
So they can see where those things are.
And you can look at that.
You can join their project and talk to them and see the data, see
that
what they're doing really with it. I mean, it really is endless, which is why I get sucked into it so that I can't come back out again. But it's endless learning. It's endless learning. And you get to contribute. So this winter, I spent a lot of time just annotating things. And I got to see that the graphs went from, looking something like this to looking like this as I was adding more and more annotations. And I was like, now that data is accessible, all I was doing was putting in life stage and helping them out with that. So
Do you have to upload a photo to do the life stage? Do you have to have a picture of the caterpillar or?
nope, you just can go, so go to the identify tab. And let's say I want to add life stages for Polyphemus. I can go to this filters button. Now we're getting advanced moves, super advanced moves in this filters, and then more filters. I can just find ones that do not yet have the annotation for life stage.
Wow.
So I've got without life stage annotation. And now these are the ones that don't yet have the life stage annotated. So I'll go to life stage and there's just a keyboard shortcut. LA is adult. And I can just go through. And I can do this while I'm just like watching a show or hanging out with, hanging out with my family. I can just go through, right?
So what is evidence of presence?
Evidence of presence, some people also would say this is a construction because we don't actually see the pupa. Evidence of presence, you would say organism if the organism is there. But I can't see the pupa, so I would mark that as a construction. Right. What
So
even
as you're going through this,
is
you're
that?
just typing like.
That's not a Polyphemus moth. Do you all agree? That is looking like a stink bug to me. Tomaday. Yeah, I should probably go further up. I should go up here. Right. Sorry.
This is
that was a fail. I don't
know. Now I know what I'm gonna do with my summer.
Right. So annotations.
So as you're doing the annotations, you're just typing like LA and then the right arrow.
LA, LL, LP. Yeah. And so down here are all the shortcuts.
Oh, cool.
So it gives you all the shortcuts so you can do it
No,
fairly
wait a minute.
quickly.
Can you go back to how you got to that?
Sure. Sorry. So the bar is hanging in the way here. Sorry. Right here is a little keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Another thing you can do is if you're like, wow, I'm really not sure what this thing is, you can also just follow the observation. And then when somebody identifies it, you will get notified. So I do that with things that I'm unsure of because I just want to lurk in the shadows and see what other people decide.
And so if you say you follow it, do they just give you some sort of a notification?
Yeah, in that first screen where you see your notifications, it would be there.
Cool.
So it ended up being way too much time that I was spending in front of my computer screen. But it was so much fun and so much learning. And I can't imagine not having this be part of my day every day and not be part of what I decide to then do on weekends to see if I can get new species and find new things. So definitely anytime if you're using iNaturalist, if you want to tag me, I'm always first thing in the morning, I'm checking my notifications, so I'll see it.
Wow.
But let me know and see if I can help out in any way. But I hope this encourages you to get excited to get out and explore. And just to know that anything that goes on iNat becomes part of this giant universe of information. So thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
All right, so we have one question
Yes.
in the chat. Raised asked a while ago, what camera are you using to take your photographs?
I am now using a Canon mirrorless, and I use a macro lens, so 100mm macro lens. And then I've got a flash and a diffuser is mostly what I use. So it's a dedicated close-up. So if there's a bird in the tree, too bad, I can't take a picture of it. I can only take pictures of close things. But when I set up my moth sheet last summer and this mantis came and sat on top of my black light, and swooped the moth clear out of the air and
That's
started
cool.
chewing its head off. I was able to get a nice picture with my macro lens right
That's
there.
really cool.
Right, that was a
Lunch.
smart mantis. So. All right, well, I'll hang around a little bit if anybody has other specific questions, but it's so nice to meet you all. I hope for many more fun LEP times together. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
everybody on Zoom.